Good morning and welcome. The Subcommittee on the Federal Workforce, Postal Service in the District of Columbia hearing will now come to order. I want to welcome my colleague and friend, Ranking Member Chaffetz, and members of the Subcommittee, hearing witnesses, and all those in attendance. The purpose of today's hearing is to examine what steps the Postal Service has taken and plans to take since Congress passed the Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act, PAEA. I'll try to keep the acronyms to a minimum, to use its increased flexibility to grow revenue. Furthermore, we are here to discuss barriers or limitations to the Postal Service's innovations, and what lessons can be learned from foreign posts in this area. The Chair, Ranking Member, and the Subcommittee each will have 5 minutes to make an opening statement, and all members will have 3 days to submit statements for the record. Ladies and gentlemen, I will yield myself such time, 5 minutes for my opening statement. In the series of hearings the Subcommittee has held on the Postal Service thus far this year, the discussion has tended to focus on the Postal Service's bottom line or its cost-cutting and consolidation efforts, and rightfully so, as the past 2 fiscal years have presented some significant financial challenges for the nation's mail system. However, today the Subcommittee convenes not to discuss what the Postal Service has been doing to reduce expenditures, but more so to learn about what the organization is doing to grow revenue and the overall value of mail as part of an ongoing effort to bring about fiscal turnaround. Today, almost 3 years since the passage and enactment of the landmark Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act, we look forward to hearing what exactly has been done to grow the business under the new price flexibilities and product innovations afforded to the Postal Service in 2006. First, however, I must briefly acknowledge the financial reality before us. The Postal Service expects a net loss of approximately $7 billion for fiscal year 2009. Prior to accounting for the recent legislation in the form of a $4 billion deferred payment to the Retiree Health Benefit Fund. I'm pleased Congress was able to grant the Postal Service authority to defer a share of its retiree health benefits prepayment, which allowed the organization to meet its financial obligations and improve its cash position. However, as my friends from both sides of the aisle acknowledged last month, the relief measure was only a temporary solution to a host of long-term problems. Moreover, I would like to note that this was not a bailout. Many Americans think the Postal Service is largely supported by federal government dollars. It is not. This is an important point I want to stress. The Postal Service is over 99% self-supporting, with less than 1% of its funds provided by the federal government to support important things like mail for the blind and overseas voting. Again, that's less than 1%. Additionally, up until postal reform, the Postal Service operated under the so-called break-even mandate, preventing the organization from even making a profit. Post-PAEA, I'm trying to stay away from these acronyms. The Postal Accountability and, what is it again? Enhancement Act. However, the Postal Service is now permitted to operate more like a business in terms of profit earning and product diversification. To that end, I look forward to hearing from today's witnesses on the extent to which the Postal Service has attempted to grow its business, from the novel summer sale to the offering of flat-rate boxes and holiday greeting cards. Today's hearing is intended to examine the steps that the Postal Service has taken and the results achieved so far in the area. In looking to the future, Postmaster General Jack Potter recently described several initiatives the Postal Service is potentially interested in to diversify and grow revenue. He observed that the Postal Service has more retail outlets in the United States than McDonald's, Starbucks, and Walmart combined. Perhaps surprisingly to some, he proposed that the Postal Service should be permitted to offer its customers alternate services such as banking, insurance, and telecommunications. Given past experiences and the extreme caution required when enterprising a business, I'm interested in hearing the extent to which these newly proposed ideas have been vetted, as well as what risks have been evaluated. Further, I have asked today's witnesses to address what lessons can be learned from foreign posts in the area of product and service development and diversification. I know that some foreign posts, such as those in Japan and France, offer banking services and sell mobile phones, for example. However, I also know that several countries have privatized their postal services, while the U.S. Postal Service remains an independent federal establishment of the United States government. In the coming months, our subcommittee will continue to provide close oversight of the Postal Service, including an in-depth examination of the Postal Service's business model, to help determine which longer-term changes are necessary to help the Postal Service return to financial viability. The Postal Service undoubtedly needs to move forward with its efforts to grow its revenue and increase the value of mail, perhaps even more so than focusing on cutting costs or reduce its retiree health benefit obligations. I thank each of you for being with us this morning. I look forward to your participation, and I yield for 5 minutes to the ranking member, Mr. Chaffetz.